How did you know it existed?
Well, everybody would say, you have to get this certification and you have to get that certification. Then you have to sign up with Duns and you have to, you have to do all of that
But
stuff.
where did you know about it?
Networking. When I would meet other entrepreneurs and they'd say, I have a contract with the state or I have a contract with Department of Education. One lady I met with, like I sat down and met with her. And I sat down and I wanted to know, how did you get that contract? Like, what was that about? Who did you speak to? And then she's the one that told me a lot about government contracting. When she got her contract, I asked her, just like I sat down with the other lady, and she was like, you need to watch Eric. I started binging on Eric, and this is why I literally watched Eric for like 2 years before I made the jump.
So today on our show, we have Stephanie Adoo out of New Jersey, and she's actually the owner of ACJ Luxury Maintenance. So Stephanie, I just wanted to say thank you and welcome.
Thank you guys so much for having me on the podcast. This is so full circle for me. So I'm so excited.
That's good. And that's why now it's even better, because the people that are coming on are people that phone calls I took initially, are people that I like the first virtual meet and greets and things like that. So it's very exciting to see that you guys have surpassed a lot of your own goals, my goals especially, because you guys are doing great. So Stephanie, just tell us a little bit about who you are, your company, and what you do.
Sure. So my name is Stephanie, owner of ACJ Luxury Maintenance. We are a janitorial facility maintenance company that serves the government sector and also the commercial sector.
Awesome.
And I'm a mom of 3 and a wife. So that's me in a nutshell.
Oh, wow. So you stay busy. So how long did you have the daycare for?
Approximately 8 years. And then it was just time to move on. It was just one of those things where I am, and if you look at my LinkedIn, it says I'm a serial entrepreneur. So it was really one of those things to move on. And even with having the daycare, I always wanted to do government contracting. I just didn't know how to get in. I didn't know anything about getting in.
How did you know it existed?
Well, everybody would say, you have to get this certification and you have to get that certification. Then you have to sign up with Duns and you have to, you have to do all of that stuff.
But where did you know? Like I had no idea this existed. I didn't even so how did you know about it?
Networking. When I would meet other entrepreneurs and they'd say, I have a contract with the state or I have a contract with Department of Education. I have a contract, one lady I met with, like I sat down and met with her. She was teaching toilet training to children on the spectrum. She was teaching the parents how to potty train their child on the spectrum, because my oldest son is on the spectrum. And I sat down and I wanted to know, how did you get that contract? Like, what was that about? Who did you speak to? And then she's the one that told me a lot about government contracting. This is how you get in, and this is, what you do. But it sort of seemed like, how do I put it? It kind of went in one ear and out the other, because I just thought I wasn't qualified. I thought that I had, just one of those things where I felt like it wasn't attainable in the area that I was in, with having daycare and all that stuff. I felt like it wasn't attainable.
When you were about to make that switch from the daycare to knowing that you wanted a new business and you wanted to go into government contracting, did you know, you said you knew that it wasn't attainable in your space. Did you have an idea of what other space you would go into?
I didn't until I started going to these IVMF meetings, and that's the Institute for Veteran Military Families. They help different veterans with their businesses, entrepreneurship, all of that stuff. So they had conferences, and I started meeting a lot of women, a lot of Black women that were in construction. And I was just blown away. Like, how do I get in construction? How do, what is this? And one of my friends who I've connected with, she was the one that really helped me. Her name is Sheena. She's the one that helped me really understand that this was very attainable, to be able to get into the construction facility maintenance space. You may not know how to break down a building, but you do know how to clean a building. You know how to obtain, you know how to probably paint. You know how to do flooring. So like little things like that, she's the
Mm-hmm.
one that showed me that it is kind of attainable, especially after she got her first contract. I was like, oh, and she got it for flooring. So I was like, oh my goodness, I could do this, you know, and that's what kind of drew me into it.
Okay, because you saw so many people in construction, so you got geared towards that way. But then she showed
Absolutely.
you that construction is not building a building, is not breaking
Right.
down, is not
It's
things that we
mm-hmm.
do, like I've done before. Like there's
Yeah,
other aspects of it.
other aspects. And I didn't know that because a lot of the times we're really one track minded, like we're on that, you know, if you say construction, you think one thing. And she's the one that really helped me to understand. And when she got her contract, I asked her, let's just like I sat down with the other lady, and she
Hmm.
was like, you need to watch Eric. So I I started binging on Eric, and this is why it's so full circle. Like I literally watched Eric for like 2 years before I made the jump, you know.
What year was this now?
So we're in 2021. About 2018, I started watching Eric.
Okay.
Yeah, off and on, just binging, going through this stuff. In
When did you take,
2019, I took
okay.
it serious.
Okay. In
Yeah.
2019, when you decided to take it serious, what was the first thing you did?
The same thing I was doing today, which is funny, you'll laugh. But since September's coming around, well, it is here today. It's one of those times where the government agencies need to get rid of contracts, right? So I was I was redoing my target market list. I was going over how to do the forecast list again.
So you
It's
had
one of those
already done,
things.
you had already taken steps, so it's not like you took it
Yes,
seriously because apparently while you were binging that first year,
right,
you were still
right.
doing little tasks
I was
that he
doing
put.
those little tasks that he put together. You know, my kids, this is how much I watch Eric. My kids know who he is. I'd wake up and put on the YouTube on my smart TV and sit down, eat my breakfast, watch it, and take my notes and then implement. That's what I would.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you already had your all registrations, you had already picked
absolutely.
your business name, you knew
Yep,
you were going to go this direction and this is what I'm going to do next.
absolutely,
So in
absolutely.
2019 came and
2019 came. By September, I started my cleaning company. That's what it was supposed to be. Started in the cleaning industry. It was not ACJ Luxury Maintenance at the time. It was Short Hills Luxury Cleaning. And I started out with that because that's where I was living at. I was living in that area. So I said,
mm,
okay, let me start out with that. And I wanted to build up my finances. So we were doing residential. We were also doing rental terms and
so
rental
you
terms.
you took
mm,
on a team. You said
Yes,
I'm going to have a cleaning company and you brought in people right away and just started
yes, I
working.
did. I sure did. And I was cleaning too. So it was a team of four of us.
You're like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it right. There is no
Absolutely.
hesitation. There is like, okay, maybe I'll start looking, and if I get something, then I'll act. Like you. This was it. You were
No,
gonna get it done, and it was going to work.
yeah, because I had already studied everything. You know, I sat down all summer and I was studying, and it was time for me to start implementing, you know. So that September, I started with the cleaning. By October, we started doing rental terms, and I drafted my husband, and we were like painting, getting these properties ready for their new renters. And I want to say by January, honestly, it died down a little bit, you know,
Okay.
just because I don't know what was going on, maybe the holidays and stuff like that, but it died down. And I started doing conferences February and March. That's like my conference time. And at that time in March, I went to the IBMF conference again, and I connected with the teachers there because, again, like I said, I've been going to those conferences for years. So I understood what was going on in the conference. I understood that if I wanted a government contract, I need to connect with those teachers because those teachers are the ones that always have the contracts.
Mm.
So this year, 2020 in particular, I went there with a mission. Like I know that they're going to have teachers there, so I'm already prepared based off of the stuff that I got from the pie watching you guys. Like I'm already set right now. Like this is the time. And so March of 2020, I went there. And was it March? Yeah, it was the end of February and the beginning of March, like the very last week of February, beginning of March, I went.
Yeah,
And
because we were still semi-normal. We had talks of
right,
COVID because I was up in DC at the Women's Chamber of Commerce conference at that same
right.
week.
Yeah. So, and everything was fine. They talked about COVID
Yeah.
and stuff, but it wasn't like
We still
everything,
had
the whole world.
conferences.
Right. It wasn't like the whole world was about to shut down.
No, I
It
would have
just,
never guessed because I people talk to them. I'm like, what are they talking about? Like the moms wiping
exactly.
down the seats of the airplane. I'm like, These people
You
are
thought it was being
crazy."
dramatic.
I was
Yeah. Yeah. I thought so too. I was
like,
like, they're
okay.
just being so extra. Let's just get on this plane and go forward. I really did. So when I got back, I would eat all of the connections. One
You
thing I could
met with
tell
the
people.
teachers and spoke to
Yeah,
them.
I met with the teachers, absolutely. Emailed them all, thanked them for teaching the class. And hey, by the way, this is what I do. This is what
Okay.
I do. Keep me in mind for other contracts. And yeah, that's it.
And what happened after? Then you came back and continued your business.
Absolutely. So by March, when I went to the conference and I came back, by March 13th, I decided to change my name to ACJ Luxury Maintenance, right? And this is all the magic happens so crazy. But
Why?
because I wanted something that incorporated my kids. I wanted something that started with an A because in marketing purposes, A is always at the top. So ACJ made sense to me. You won't have to look for me. It's like I'm gonna be right there.
You're gonna be first on the list because
I'm
everything
gonna
usually
be
happens alphabetical order.
Yeah, and I don't have to pay to be seen. I learned that from the daycare. Like when you put your name on these listings, a lot of the times if your name starts with like a D, or E, or whatever, you're gonna have to pay to be featured. With the A, I'm already gonna be on the first page. So that was very
Oh.
strategic for me, very strategic. And so I was like, okay, ACJ, and I wanted to keep luxury because I know the type of people I want to work with. Um,
Are
you know,
ACJ your kids' initials?
Alyssa, Chloe, and Jacob.
When I saw it today, I was like, it has to mean something.
Yeah,
I never thought it was
Alyssa
three
Chloe.
kids, but I'm like,
Yeah,
it has
three
to mean
kids.
something. Okay,
Alyssa
so
Chloe
they
and
should
Jacob.
be loving this business. They're like, oh, mom named
Absolutely. Absolutely. They think it's theirs.
it.
But yeah,
It's
by March 13th, I changed the name.
hmm
And March 13th, everything shut down. March 17th, right, is when I changed the name and started ACJ Luxury. And I remember talking to my friend, I'm like, everything is shutting down. How am I going to do this business? Nobody's going to want me to clean. It was crazy. But by the end of March, I got the call for my first contract. That was for cleaning the VA hospitals across New York City. You're talking about Manhattan, Brooklyn, and St. Albans, Queens. And I got the call. The prime contractor, which was one of the teachers there at
Oh,
the conference, reached out to me and remembered my business and asked me if I would be interested in doing it. And me, I'm like, hell yeah, like yes, this is what I've been waiting for. And so I wasn't expecting it to be as big as it was. That's one thing. I was not expecting it to be as big as it was, but it just blew up. So so we're in the end of March, right? By April 7th was when we start the contract, okay? But we didn't get the call that we got the contract until April 5th. They were like, okay, we want you guys to start, but we want everybody to start by April 7th. And we need 40 people by April 7th.
2 days,
Yes,
48 hours.
yes. And luckily I had other people that I knew with cleaning companies that were interested, and I reached out to them. I told them, listen, I have this contract, would you like to jump on board? And you as the owner would be my supervisor for this site. And these will be, you have your workers work at this
Because
site.
how
And
many
that's how
people
I
were
did
on your team?
it. At the time, it was just me and 3 other people.
So you're a little bit short.
Yes,
30
very
something
short.
short. Yeah.
Very, very short. And, when I reached out to them, they didn't have as many people either. So, between the other two companies, we were at like 10, to be honest with you. So I put out on Indeed and I'm calling people all types of night. Like, typically you're calling people up until 5. I was
Yes.
calling people at 9 o'clock. Like, hey, we have a job coming and this is what it entails. And, some people turned me down because they were scared to work in the hospital, with it being COVID. But many people were like, okay, because it was paying so much. They were like, yeah, I'll just, I'm gonna put on my mask.
It's not your typical janitorial housekeeping pay.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They were getting paid a good amount to mop and clean these hospitals. It was great. So I was able to pull together the 40 people by April 7th in 3 different locations, 3 different locations, and
How
set it
far
up.
are the locations?
How do I explain all right. So if you look on the map, you would think from Brooklyn to Manhattan is not too far, but New York City traffic, that's far. But
Okay.
the good thing is that, the good and bad thing is it was COVID. So, there was no traffic on the streets. Yeah, it was no traffic. Then the trains were running well, so the people were able to.
Okay. And
But
how long was the contract for? Did you guys know about how long it's going to be?
At first, it was only supposed to be up until August 8th or August 7th. So it's only about 4 months.
Okay.
But then they extended it. So we stopped on August 7th. They called us back in September to start again in October. And that was supposed to be only up until December, but then they extended it again. So we got 2 extensions on that contract. 2 extensions. We didn't stop working until March 24th of 2021.
How did you feel when you were, because I can't imagine 40 people. Okay, we're 10 altogether. I called the people I knew. I only have 10. I'm like, okay, I need about 30 more. And that's including me. So 30 more. How did you feel when you finally had your list of 40 people?
Honestly, I don't remember the feeling because I was so focused on getting this contract going. It was like, okay, we got it. Now what's next? Let me get them enrolled. Everything was like now what's next? Now what's next?
Oh, okay.
I didn't sit back and think about everything until that September. Like, wow, this really happened. It's like this really happened. But it was really tough getting the contract going. So I was like, there were many days that I didn't get home till sometimes 3, 4 in the morning. Yeah, and I would be gone from 7 in the morning.
So you went out to the sites.
I did, because it's my first contract. So I wanted to make sure the prime looked good because I'm gonna see him again. And we all have this connection to the same company that we're under because he's a service disabled veteran as well, but he's also a teacher, one of the teachers. So I wanted to make sure that this contract goes well, so he looks good, and then he refers me out to other people. So my main thing was that, and then next is making sure that the workers understand what they're supposed to do. They understand the contract and that they are set with their tasks. So that was and I had to learn human resources. Like I had to learn all of this stuff through all along the way. Payroll, which almost gave me a heart attack.
Because you ran a business, you ran the daycare for 8 years, and then you had already started running a cleaning business.
Yeah.
And I guess
this
because
was my big business. This wasn't. I've never had 40 workers.
okay, I'm like, what was the biggest difference between running a business and running this contract?
It was having so many workers, so many different personalities to deal with. And when you go over a certain amount in human resources, you have to add in additional trainings as well. So it's like when you hit that 40 mark, I think, no, it was the 30 mark. you have to start adding in additional trainings that I didn't know about.
Training. See, it's not like you're just telling these people, go mop. These are the 2 rooms you have to mop tonight and this and that.
No. Oh, yeah, because what I left out is they all had to do trainings as well within those 2 days. And these people, because I had to find an online training, janitorial training for them, and they actually did it. They actually did it.
Well, you said
5 hours.
they
They
were
were
getting
getting paid well. That's why they wanted to get it done and get paid and get on this job.
that's yeah. So they had to do additional training once they got there.
Mm-hmm. It was a
And
lot. It's just a lot of moving parts.
that's insane. Like, and you're going to all 3 locations, making sure
Yes.
everyone's doing it, and then having this payroll, because it's not just regular payroll, because you then have to do certified payroll, which I
Yes.
found out at the end of my first contract, when the lady goes, just send us your certified payroll so we could start and your invoice. And I'm like, what's certified payroll?
What is that, right?
I'm like, huh? So that's when I
Yeah.
had to be like, Eric, what's certified payroll? She says I need certified payroll. And
And that one's even tough because when you do your regular payroll, for my payroll, it was bi-weekly, right? Certified payroll, they want to know week by week, like every week, how many hours, broken down into the amount of taxes that you paid that
yes.
employee for that week. And I'm like, but I did this bi-weekly.
Can I just give you a bi-weekly amount total?
So it is a lot with the certified payroll.
Yeah, and even just having payroll alone is a lot. I can't. Like
It
for me,
was.
I do construction, so I do subs. So they perform a task, they get a check, and that's all I give them.
Right.
Like I've never had that payroll company that it's different people and it's bi-weekly and it's by
And the
hours.
first payroll was absolute hell. Like I was getting calls left and right, like, oh, this, people having problems with a lot of them were going to check cashing places. And it was just like, you don't have a bank account, you put the money in. It was just like really insane.
You don't have
It was just really insane first, but after that, everything went well.
okay, and then you understood how it flows.
Yes. So it was different, very
So
different.
in September, when you finally sat back and realized it's actually happening, do you remember like a feel? You've had businesses, so it's a little different. Did you have that feeling of, wow, it actually is happening?
Yeah, I did. I was extremely grateful for the opportunity and, just to be able to put goals out there and it really happens. One of the things that I did when I was on a plane, when I came home from that conference that I told you about, was write down 50 goals. And I was on a plane, I wrote that down. And one of the goals were to get 3 contracts. Another goal was to hit I think 250K because I wanted to be a part of this other program. And it was to have, I think 20 employees. That was some of the goals there. And when I sat down and thought about it in September, I'm like, wow, one, we surpassed 250K like water. And, I had way more than 20 employees. So it was good. And that was just my first contract. So I felt really good to be able to hit those goals. But I knew that it was from, relationship and networking, but it was really good to be able
Yeah,
to hit.
because yours came from, it was a teacher you reached out to because you
Mm-hmm.
went to a conference.
Right.
And you didn't just go to the conference and sit back either. You
No.
actually knew you had the people that you're going to target are the instructors. Because if
Yes.
they're teaching a class, that means they should know how to do this because they are doing it.
Absolutely.
It's not like I'm going to go sit next to a person and they're lost, I'm lost. So at the end of the day, it's like, what did we really accomplish other than breathing the same
Exactly.
air? And then when you needed the amount of people, you already had contact with other companies that could help out.
Yes. Yeah. So, it was just one of those things that was, everything was already set and ready to go.
Um, I know you've spoken about this in our GovCon Tuesday's calls, payroll. Were you
Uh,
financially able to have 40 people? You went from 3 to 40 now.
yes. Was I financially able to do it? Absolutely not. Ironically, with this teacher that I had, I sat in his class and one of the things that he said was, don't be afraid to tell your prime that you don't have any money. That's what he said. he
Oh,
said,
okay.
he said that. And I went up to him after class and I'm like, okay, you say that, but is there a proper way to say I don't have any money to do this? And he's like, no, you have to be transparent and just let them know you don't have the money. So when he came to me, I said, hey, I don't have any money to do this.
Just like you told me to, and I'm sure that he
Yeah,
remembered you because of that
yeah,
question. Because he told
absolutely.
everybody this, but nobody really asked anything about it. They just, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, it humbles you when you have to go to someone and say, hey, I don't have any, I want to do $1 million contract, but I don't have $1 million to fund it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I told him that I don't have any money to fund it, the only thing that I needed to come up with was the money to be able to pay for the insurances. You got to pay for your workers' comp. You have to, the money to put everything in place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then for payroll, he covered the payroll. So what he did was he would pay me every 2 weeks to make sure that I'm able to cover the payroll. And then I can pay the payroll, and then I took my cut out of it as well. So I didn't have to worry about anything with that when it came to it financially.
Oh, wow.
So it's about telling them if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. There are some primes out there willing to fund you because they want the contract too.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I learned is, when you open your mouth, you get results. You get results. Don't sit quiet.
Yeah, because easily you could have been like, "Oh, I just can't," and all that.
Right.
I just can't is what 3 words, and it was just like they're not going to ask you why.
Exactly, exactly. They really are not going to ask you why. You have to let them know exactly why you can't do it and be very upfront about it.
Yeah, be transparent, like you said, because if you're
Yeah.
not transparent, then at the other turn, when it comes down to it, and there's an issue, then they're going to be like, "But you didn't tell me this."
Absolutely, absolutely. And my prime was the key component when it came to the finances for all of this. He was the key component in making sure that this deal happened. And I'm very grateful that he, put his trust in my company, especially it being new, to take a chance like that was really good.
Yeah, the initial call was great, but I guess when he saw that this lady pulled up 40 people in 2 days' notice,
Exactly.
like
Like
if
she's
she could do
serious.
that, then imagine what she can do.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because his um, superintendent that I worked closely with was in shock that he didn't think I could do it. He had like labor ready people just in case I don't have, like,
Hmm.
he was in shock that I was able to pull it off. He's like, I can't believe you did this. I'm like, yeah. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, I did it, but I'm like, yeah, I can't believe you either. Like, I can't believe.
What about your husband? How did he react to all this?
So he was so helpful throughout everything, helping me navigate these different personalities. Because remember, I've been an entrepreneur forever, but he actually works. So he understands the employee mindset where I'm like, this is just ridiculous. So he helped me navigate it. He was very excited for the contract. And it worked out good for us because in his job, he was off 2 weeks and on 2 weeks,
Oh,
on
okay.
1 week. So we were able to juggle the kids that way because remember they were being homeschooled and all of this
That's
stuff.
true
So
because you said they shut down the 13th and you started all this the 17th.
so
So,
as soon as it started, he was actually off of work for 2 weeks. And
okay.
yeah, and the weeks that that he did have to go into work and I still had to come in and we'd have like a babysitter or something. My neighbor would watch them down. Yeah, I had a neighbor downstairs and
Okay.
she would help out. Again, asking people like, please help me.
Yeah, it's true. Asking people, and we take that for granted at times. Like people say,
Yeah,
just ask, but something in us say like, I don't want to sound dumb. I don't want to sound
yeah,
like I'm just less by just
yeah.
asking something so easy.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the worst they could say is no. That's what I always tell myself all the time. The worst a person can say is no, but that gives you the opportunity to just move on to the next, you know.
Yeah. So when this contract was coming towards its end and then it got extended, for me, it would feel like I just want another contract.
Yes.
How did you feel?
I was excited. My guys were super excited, you know, and it was just like let's keep making them happy. You know, I stress that to my employees all the time that we are all a team. So it's not just me winning, you know, it's
Hmm.
you being able to work during a pandemic and being able to make such good money during a pandemic that it's amazing, you know, you have a blessing here and let's make sure that we take full advantage of it, you know. And
Yeah.
my employees understood it. They were really like, I would get emails about how grateful they are to have the job, how, you know, and it's been years since they've been able to be this ahead in their bills and stuff. So it's like really a blessing, you
Oh,
know. I
truly
really,
is.
yeah, it was really a blessing. So I was excited.
That's awesome. That's so nice. It just must be a very nice feeling that you're able to give to a community of people that
Hmm.
otherwise they would be barely making it because those type of jobs, cleaning jobs, we all think of who does the cleaning jobs, the immigrants that come over, the
Yeah,
people that don't have, and so you never think you would be able to make anything decent. And for you to come
right.
in and give them, here's an opportunity and this is how
Hmm.
much you're going to make, and for them to say I've never been ahead on my bills,
Right,
like
right. And
like
remember, we're in New York City, so you
it ain't
know
cheap.
it's hard. That one is hard. So I understood them, you know, and it was amazing for them. And I was very honored to be able to have the opportunity to be able to serve them in that capacity.
Mm. And then it got extended again.
Yes, that was just icing on the cake.
What were you doing during all this? Because knowing that it might, thinking that it was going to come to an end, what were you strategizing for the next move?
So during all of this, I was just really trying to work towards obtaining another contract and seeing how, you know, I'm going to leverage this big first opportunity to be able to pitch myself to other people and get more contracts. And I was updating my SBS, the dynamic,
Hmm.
I can never pronounce it, but
The dynamic
dynamic
small
small business
business
profile.
profile.
So I was updating that as well, and I added that on. I made sure to get my business bonding. That's something that we didn't have. So I
Hmm.
was working towards the things that I didn't really have before, you know.
Okay.
And that was it, just getting everything
So
together.
it's important that you were just like, oh, I got a contract, that's it. And it's
Yeah,
like,
no,
wait it out. Like, I made it, I did it. It's like you're getting yourself ready to keep those wheels going, to keep things coming
absolutely,
along.
absolutely.
How much was this contract for originally when you first got it?
So when I first got it, this is funny too. He's like, you know, you could go home with like in your pocket, you're going to make $150,000 off of this contract in 4 months. He's like, you're going to make that. I said, yeah, okay, that's what you say. But I didn't believe him. I didn't believe him at all until the first check. And I said, oh,
Oh.
even my husband was like, because he didn't believe it either. And the first check came in, especially with payroll and stuff like that. So the first check that did come in, it was for 119 grand. The majority of it, of course, was going to payroll,
Hmm.
but it was the fact that I seen 119 grand in the
And
bank account, and I'm like, yeah, so it was just one of those things where it was like,
oh,
wow. But originally the first 4 months, I believe it was supposed to be for 400,000 for the first 4 months.
that's a very
And
nice first contract.
tell me about it.
But all you did was ask a question to an instructor and send
Hmm.
a simple thank you email that a lot of people don't even think about doing.
Yeah, many people do not think
Like,
about
I don't
doing
even
it at
think of doing
all.
it. I do, you know who I do it for? My podcast guests.
Oh wow.
And that's how I remember them because I do that process. And hearing you say it's like, maybe I should do it for so many more people.
Yeah, yeah. Every time I go to a conference and I meet instructors,
Mm-hmm.
and just the people that I meet with, I always say thank you. I always try to remember something that we talked about, so that way they can understand like this is personable, and it's not something where it's generic,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. And I always get a response. I'll be like, okay, or if it's somebody in passing that I met and I sparked a conversation with,
Mm-hmm.
I'll say something we talked about, and then I'll ask them, hey, what did you think about the conference? What was your favorite part? So that I can build up that relationship with them. And when it's the instructors, I'll pick out something really good they talked about and say, thank you so much, because without this, I would not have been able to, start this part of my business. So, stuff like
Hmm.
that.
That's really good advice.
Thank
Because
you.
a lot of people go to conferences and just attend.
Yeah, no, no, you have to. And I used to be one of those people, like, I'm just attending, I'm collecting information, but I really got into the idea of
Mm-hmm.
networking because relationship building is the name of the game. And once I started seeing the doors that open from relationship building,
Mm-hmm.
like this contract here, but even before this contract, it was other things that let me know that it's not, it's more about your network. Who do you have in your network that can help you get to that next level? And my focus was making sure I met those people and connected with them to get to where I wanted to go.
When you're getting the extension to the extension and you saw it coming to its end, what was that feeling?
That feeling was like my money train is stopping. But,
Oh, it was about the sense of closure of like you completed it. But yeah,
that
I would
was
take the
my
money
initial
too, because
feeling. That was my initial feeling. I'm not gonna lie. But it did feel great that again that I had the opportunity. I send out a good thank you email to all of my employees, especially the ones that were there from the beginning, to let them know they are so well appreciated. And then it was time to move on to the next contracts to see what can I get, and again, how can I leverage it. And within a month, I got another contract, not for as big, but this literally just fell in my lap. Like, so
how did it just literally fall in your lap? Because that's what we hear government contracts are supposed to be. You register and it just comes and falls in your lap. I'm sure it didn't just fall in your lap. It had to
I
be a
promise
networking or
this
something.
one wasn't. They emailed me out the blue. I believe I had just updated my dynamic service
Your
profile.
DSVS. See,
Yes.
you had to do something in order
Right.
for
Okay.
it
There
to.
it is. So I just updated that. And so the contract that ended in March. April, they reached out to me, the Department of Veterans Affairs in Kentucky, and I'm in New Jersey. So this is from Kentucky, and they asked me to quote on how to strip and wax the floor. They wanted a quote on stripping and waxing the floor.
The VA,
Um,
the location is Kentucky, though.
the
It's not like just
location,
the contracting officers.
yeah, the location was in Kentucky, and in my head, I'm like, wow. But I like to say yes to everything, so I said, yeah, I'll give a quote. I mean, nothing hurts from giving a quote, right? So I gave the quote, and then I followed back up with them because I didn't hear anything. I said,
Mhm.
hey, I submitted the quote. I just wanted to follow up and see, what did you think? What's the status? So he called me and he's like, well, do you guys they were looking for a specific type. They wanted to change the color of their floors. And it wasn't something that I did. And there's only a certain amount of companies licensed to do it. That was something that I learned. It's something called Endura Glaze, Chrome Glaze, and they asked specifically for it. So I told the contractor, I said, hey, I don't do that, but I can get partners that's going to be able to do it. And that's what I did. I looked up their terminology and I found out who did it. Mind you, it's weird at the time I was doing it where most people won't be doing it, but my daughter was about to get surgery. And she, because she had to get, it's a minor surgery, she had to get surgery on her knee. So it was one of those things where I'm at the hospital. She went into surgery, and I'm calling people to take my mind off of her,
Because
freaking
it's
out.
still your child going
Yeah,
under.
I'm
Yeah.
trying not to freak out, so I'm calling the contracting people there to find out if they can do it. And I found someone that's in Kentucky that was able to do it. But I missed the part in the story where I did reach out to Eric. And actually,
Okay.
he did send out an email.
At which point did you reach out to him? After you knew what they needed?
Yes, after I knew what they needed.
Okay.
But the people that got back to me, they weren't able to, do it. So I was like, hey, let me just find someone in Kentucky. And at that time, I didn't know. At that time, when I reached out to Eric, it was only supposed to be stripping and waxing. I didn't know they wanted to change the color of the floor.
Okay.
So once I learned that, I had to find the company that could do it. And I found them actually on the GSA schedule. And I called them, and they helped me locate the company in Kentucky. And that company in Kentucky, they were amazing, and they were absolutely more than willing to do it. So I put together the quote, I sent it back to the VA contracting officer. He accepted it, and boom, that was like a sole source right there, straight to me. And by May, I was in Kentucky.
Oh, you did go to
I
Kentucky.
did go to Kentucky.
Have you ever been to Kentucky before then?
Not at all. Not my whole family is like, what are you doing in Kentucky? Of all places. Like, yeah, out here. But
Gotta make sure it's done.
I had to make sure it was done, and I did, and it was good. I didn't really have to go, to be honest. They did an amazing job, but I wanted to shake the point of contact, hand, so that he sees that I'm there, making sure everything is okay, and just build up that relationship with the Kentucky point of contact. And after they were done working, I sent a follow-up email to them saying, hey, we're done. These are the pictures. I hope you like it. If you need anything, if you want us to go back and check over anything, we'll do that, so, but they loved the job. So
How long did it take?
that one was just 2 weekends. 2 weekends.
2 weekends.
The first weekend I went out there, but the second week I didn't have to go. Yeah, it was a 2 weekend job.
How much?
25 grand. Yeah. So you go from 1.2 mil, 25. It's not bad.
Oh, the first one ended up in 1.2. So your 400 turned to 1.2?
Yeah, 400 turned to $1.2 million
Oof.
contract.
Nice.
I know. Yep.
But this one has to mean a lot because it's your first prime.
It's my first prime, so this one meant the most to
It's
me,
mine. Like it's
it
under
was
my name.
right. So now I finally can say, like, I directly work with the Department of Veterans Affairs, and that is good because my foot is in the door now. That's all I needed.
So how do you now leverage this one?
I'm still working towards it, but I'm going to be definitely submitting more bids, building more relationships. I don't have any contracts right now in the works, but I'm working towards it, and leveraging it with these two first big contracts. It really helps me to look very credible, helps me to look financially stable. And that's one of the things that I worried about when I first started contracting, not looking financially stable. One thing I learned through being in the group is, you don't have to be financially stable, but you have to partner with someone that is, right? So, it's just
someone has to pay for it, right?
Somebody has to pay for it. So just making sure that I'm partnered with the right people, and through the group, I was able to partner with great people. So, it's just one of those things where I'm gonna keep bidding and make sure I keep myself out there.
So right now you don't have any contracts going on, but it doesn't mean that you're not taking the steps to find the next one either.
Oh, absolutely not.
Like, what are some
submitting?
Okay, you're submitting because the first time in between, you made sure you updated your DSBS, you updated capabilities, you updated everything, so you're not just letting those things lag.
No,
And you're also just not waiting for the next phone call.
No.
The first one, somebody was able to help you. They reached out to you. The second one, you said it fell in your lap, but you actually did some work. You did a lot of work. And so it's like, I tell people, it's hard for me just because I come from, I won my first two bids, three bids
Mm,
when I decided to do this. So now
yeah,
it's like, wait, now I have to work for them. So the
yeah.
like I got it too easy at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah,
So
no, it's
it's
different
hard.
when you have
Yeah.
to work and I've been submitting bids. I did have another bid that did come through, but it didn't work out just because it was a little hard to find workers in that location. So I had to let that bid go.
Mm.
And I've submitted some other bids, that I didn't win. So I've been working in between. But it's just about you got to keep going,
I was
Some
gonna
of
ask
them.
you, after getting those no's, like what makes you keep going to the next one?
It's a little addicting for me. Again, like I said, I'm a serial
Serial.
entrepreneur, so and for me, this is like the no's kind of fuel me. And again, I'm a mom, and I just bought a house, you know, so I'm a homeowner now, so I have to keep going. This is not like a game. I literally have to keep going so that we can afford to do what we need to do and
Hmm.
afford the type of lifestyle that I want to have. So I
How
just
has government contracting changed your life? Being that you just bought a home and
I mean, it changed it tremendously. The first business, like I said, it was time to move on, but it was hard times after the first business. We kind of went bankrupt, and it was a lot. So, in this year, the past year from 2020 to 2021, when I decided to, move forward on it, it was like a 360. Everything that I lost, I got back, and then some, to be able to be a homeowner, to be able to travel again the way I want to, put my kids in the stuff that I want them to be a part of. It feels great, and to add on that savings because my oldest child does have autism and I want to make sure that he's able to be taken care of for the rest
hmm
of his life as well. So it's just a lot of things in the pot that keeps me motivated to keep going. And government contracting, I feel like not just for myself, like I told this other um, what was it? I was applying for another company, like another cohort to be a part of. But like I told them, for government contracting for me, it's not just about me, but I find it to be a path to give other, like my employees, um, a good job, a sustainable job
hmm
that can help them move forward, and that means a lot because I used to be on the community board in the Bronx and they used to always say, oh, we're bringing in jobs. And I would be the main one raising my hand, like, are these jobs that people could live off of? you know? Because you're saying you're bringing in jobs, but people can't live off of that. And I feel government contracting really gives people the opportunity, not just the person on top, but even the
hmm
employees the opportunity to get ahead
It's
and
true.
live meaningful lives. Yeah.
It's very true because I look at some projects and the first thing is like, I want my people to be doing that.
Right.
Like, I want people to look like me, like you, to be the
Yes.
ones doing those jobs
Yes.
because it's
Yeah.
hard out here. It's very hard.
Yes.
You're from New York. I'm from South Florida. So we see the people that look like that are in our communities that we grew up around. Like
Mm-hmm.
my mom's been at the same job for 33 years. She
My
wakes
mom
up
too.
she wakes up at 3 in the morning, and now with COVID, that there's nobody to work, it's hard to find people to work. And it's
Wow.
like, I see how much she's given, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I want to be able, because everyone, as you always have to stick to your why. Like
Yeah.
my why has always been, I want my mom not to have to wait to retire. I want her to enjoy herself. So
Absolutely.
it's like
Absolutely.
I want to give those people, and also the kids are growing up, that mindset's like, look, she made them. Oh, I'm gonna tell my kids tomorrow. I was on a phone call last night doing because they love that we're on YouTube. Like she made over $1 million. They're gonna be like, I'm gonna film it just for you.
Oh gosh.
But you given these people that opportunity, I can't imagine how their lives change as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that means the most to me as well. It's not just about me, but it's really about giving that meaningful opportunity. Like that's important. Everybody has to be able to live.
Yeah. And you took that chance when you made that switch. You were married, you have three kids,
Yeah.
and you had the three kids, and it's like everything's shutting down around you. And you're like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna start this. And so
I'm
I
gonna
give you
try it.
props and everything, like in the middle of everybody's craziness. And I'm single and I have the kids and I still have to think and overthink about it. And you just like, I'm gonna do this. And you
I
just
am.
did it.
Yeah. Like I told me and my friend, we talking, it's like, we're really lucky to still be married because we're so crazy with this entrepreneurship thing.
Oh, she's one too?
Yeah, she's just as crazy. It's like,
Okay.
well, at least our husband still stayed. Yeah, I
There,
told my husband, I'm like, you must be crazy too. You just hide it better than I
yeah, he just doesn't takes the leaps.
do. Right.
He holds your hand through them, so he has that little bit of that rush that you get in
Yes.
when you need to get the 40 people, when you need to
Yep.
go out in the middle of a pandemic and things like
Yeah.
that. He's a
Yep.
part of it.
It's true. It's true. So, and it was scary. It wasn't like it was scary to like go into the hospitals, because we had to like clean the COVID rooms, like we had to go in there and do the terminal cleanings when a patient would be discharged. That was our job. We had to clean out the rooms to get it ready for the next room. And in between that, stripping and waxing the hospital floors. Like that's what we had to do and get different wings prepared and opened up for other COVID patients. So, and one thing that was a blessing is not one person caught COVID that worked in those areas. My guys took really good precaution, really good care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah,
just one, the
because you guys
blessing.
were in the middle of it all. Like
Yeah,
you were the talk before Florida became the talk.
right, right. Yep, yep. We sure were. We were the epicenter, as they say.
Yes.
And everything. And for New York to shut down New York City, yeah, that's a big deal. It felt
I was
weird.
like, man, Disney and churches shut down. It must be bad.
Oh, when church shut down, man, I was like really sad. Like, I can't go to church. That was
Mm,
the I did not like. There's a church that I go to in Times Square. It's called Times Square Church.
mm,
That's the church that I used to go to in New York. Now I go to a church called Liquid. But I've still been dying for Times Square Church to open, and they're just now opening next week. Is it next week? The 12th. I don't ever know what days, but
oh,
they've been shut down the
since
whole entire time since that March 13th of 2020. They're just now opening.
oh wow.
Yeah.
I thought you guys were all back to normal.
In Jersey, we are. New York, not so much. Jersey, I feel like we are, but I'm a little rebel, so
You're ready. You'll be the first one in
you
line.
can't. Yeah, I am. Yeah, probably too much.
um, so government in the past, what it's been about a year and a half since, not even,
Hmm.
yeah, since you started, right? Because
Yeah,
we're in the middle of 2020. We're towards the end, really. It's crazy how time flies.
I know. These
And
months are just going, going,
yeah,
going.
you had this idea in your head and you went and set out for it. How do you feel about yourself? Like
Well,
you said
being
you blessed everybody else and everything around you, but what about you?
it's always a weird question people ask about me. I don't think about me too much, and I should more. But I'm like a natural giver. Like that's one thing that makes me happy. So, when I see other people happy, I'm happy. Yeah, I haven't really like being on this podcast, like I said, is full circle. It's just to be able to tell my story, to be able to be a part of GovCon Giants, because that was another thing. Every time I watched the podcast or all of the
Mhm.
shows, I'm like, as soon as I get the money, I'm going to join. And that's what I did. I was like, as soon as I get the money, I'm going to join. I'm going to drop the money and that's it. I'm going to
Mhm.
join because I have to invest in myself. So, to
How is
be
the
here,
learning process?
the learning process, it's good, but then it's still a lot to learn.
Okay.
You know, I would say if you are on your first contract, no matter how much you still have to go through these experiences that are going to make you feel like I don't know crap. Everything I thought I knew, I don't know. It's a chess game, it's it's not only about the knowledge of the government contracting and the terminologies, it's also really knowing how to negotiate. You know, it's a chess game. How much should you give in and how much should you take? You know, it's just one of those things of playing the line. And that's one thing I had to learn on the first contract, you know, because it wasn't about me anymore. So anytime, you know, I disagreed with the chief that I might have been working with, and they all were horrible, I had to realize that, is it worth me telling this guy off and all of us getting fired off of this contract? You know, or or should I just smile and let it be? And the good thing is we were in COVID, so you know my facial
Oh,
expressions, they give me away all the time. So I had on my mask, so they could never see my facial expressions, which is great. You know, I be quiet and let it be. You know,
just
it's a
keep
learning
on
curve.
going.
Yeah, it's a learning curve.
So you learned a lot this first contract.
I did. I did. I really, really did.
From running the HR part to payroll and workers' comp to just how I call it the Colgate smile. Like,
Yes, yeah, and you got it down pat.
oh yeah. That's one thing. People said your facial expressions give you away. I'm like, yeah, but there's days that you have to act the part. And if my part is okay, thank you.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And that was
That's all you
me.
have to do. Like I've
Hmm.
learned, especially in the last few years of construction and things like that, because I cried. I was telling someone today, it's like my first few contracts, like you. Yeah, I was out there, but people don't see what you go through during those
Yeah.
contracts. People
No.
didn't see when you had to bite your tongue, when you
Hmm.
had to go in, how scary you must have been. Like you're going into these rooms and you have a family back home,
Hmm.
how when
Yeah.
payroll came and you're like, wait, I have to do what? Like I don't get this. I cried over. I told Eric, remember when I used to cry and I cried over blue screws?
Oh
So we
God.
needed these blue screws, the top screws, and I remember the person installing it called me, and I broke down. Like I don't know why, and it's like, and because we were like, how
'Cause you were overwhelmed.
yeah, how far have you come? I'm like, I know. I cried over blue screws. I'm like, when there's a
Wow.
solution to things. Like I don't have to physically be there to fix it. Like, but there
It's
is a
true.
solution. So
Yeah.
you learn through these experiences. Like you said, it's not just sitting back and taking in the knowledge. And
No.
because you think
No.
you're ready, you might not think you're ready, but getting that first go, it's
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not easy. Like I'm sure for you, a female in construction, it's not easy, you know, and it's not easy being a female in facility maintenance. Like you come in there and many times you're hated off the bat just for being a female. So, you know, again, it's a chess game with
especially
trying
you in the
to,
VA. Like I can't imagine what these chiefs looked like. Same thing, constructions, female GC. It's like they look down and they just think you're just secretary
yeah,
or just a
yeah.
runner or
I
something. I'm
had
like,
one chief that refused, like he refused to believe I owned the business. He just would not acknowledge it. He didn't, I don't know. He would tell the prime, oh, I'm here with your employee. And like he just this stuff all the time. And it's just like, okay, whatever. You know, after a while it's like, I mean, I've had my days where I did tell, you know, my employees, like, listen, guys, I tried. So if I walk in this office and we all have to leave, I tried my best. Just know I did. I promise you I tried. But those days didn't come, thank God, you know, because, you know, at the end of the day, your work speaks for itself. So whether a person likes you or not, if you are a great company and if your employees are doing what they have to do, they're not going to take that chance and fire you and try to get someone else, because good, especially good work in government contracting, is very hard to find. So they'll try to keep you as long as
mhm.
possible. They'll get on your nerves, but they're not going to let you go because you're good, you know, and you have to let your work speak for itself.
That's very true because one thing Eric said, it's like the thing about government contracting is like once you submit a bid, there is no I'm a woman, I'm black, I'm white,
Right.
I'm Hispanic. It's just a company submitting it. They're
Yep.
not looking in depth or looking at you, seeing who it is. And that's a good thing about it because and then you go in, you do the work, they like you, and you get the next one and the next one. You keep it going that way. And we have to remember also that people are people and they
Yeah.
probably have their days too, and you don't know what's going on.
Absolutely.
So just okay.
Absolutely.
Good.
I'm gonna get that Colgate smile down pat.
And that's why with the math, sometimes I'm like, I'm glad because these kids sometimes or people like construction, like you said, oof, if there's days I'm just like, okay, it'll get done.
It sure will. I can imagine with little kids, dealing
I
with
don't
my
know.
kids at
I don't
home.
know which one's worse, the little kids or the men in construction.
I would say the men in construction, to be honest, because I feel like the kids have an excuse. They're
Yeah, they're
kids.
naive. They're 5,
Yeah,
but
they're
these are
kids.
grown men.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a
I'm
whole different
signing your
ballgame.
paycheck.
You don't know how many times I had to explain that to my employees. Like, do you see the name that's on the bottom? Do you
See?
understand that?
We think alike. That's it.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Well, it is great speaking to you. Any final advice for people that were are in your similar circumstance a year and a half ago where they're ready to make that switch and have this government contracting idea tinker in their head and they're a
hmm
little bit like undecisive or unsure of the unknown.
I guess the first advice I have is to take it out your head. Start writing down your goals. We have to write the vision, make it plain. So start writing down your goals, make it known. Then start building out those relationships. Pick up the phone, call, email, follow up, and be ready when they call you. Don't be afraid to say you don't have the money to your prime, and negotiate. Make sure that you get everything that you deserve as a company. Don't feel undervalued because you're new. You come with knowledge, or you wouldn't be in the field. So just make sure that you have those things together, and you should be fine.
Well, I think you are just fine. And we're excited to hear about the next win that you're going to have because
Absolutely.
end of the fiscal year's here. So
Yeah,
time
that's
for
that's
you
what I'm
guys.
getting ready, getting these emails ready to go.
I heard that in our call last night. I'm like, you know what? I should do that. I'm like, in
Yeah.
between my like 20 minutes that I get to eat or breathe, like
Yeah.
just send out a few and see what comes up.
Yeah, listen, it's quick 10, 20,000 right
Hey,
there.
anything,
Right
I'll
there.
take it.
A 10 grand email. Look at that.
We're gonna coin that. It's a 10 grand email, guys.
Yeah, 10 grand email. You never know.
No, but thank you so much. Enjoy
Thank
the
you.
house, enjoy the family. Happy early birthday.
Thank
And we'll
you.
keep in contact. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.